Hey, good morning, team. It is Tuesday, February 27th. We are here again. I am Amy Corr. I'm here with Kevin Van Neck.
Good morning.
And we are excited for another great topic. We just have great topics every Tuesday, I'm telling you.
For 3 years,
we're
4
just
years,
going.
we got it.
Yeah, well, we've got a great one for you today. We know things are moving in the market right now, so we are going to talk about how you can go after the market right now. So on that note, grab your coffee and let's jump into the next episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin.
Here we go. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining. Good morning, Amy.
Good
Let's
morning.
talk about how the spring market is moving and how we can make ourselves go.
Yeah,
right?
I love it.
Because it's time. I know we talk about this nonstop. You have to take action, right? You have to do something. And I don't think we can say it enough. I don't get tired of saying it because sometimes we do sit back. But this is one moment where even though it's the spring market and there are these good indicators and we know buyers are out there, we have to do something to take advantage of it because business isn't just going to come to us ever.
Yeah. I mean, I think especially right now, and I think one of the things I've been talking with a lot of agents, and I feel like it's February and some are still anxious, but I feel like some feel tired already.
Right.
And, what I have been saying to a lot of agents is it kind of starts with your mindset, going after the market and feeling like I've got this, right?
Yeah.
And so it sort of starts with our attitude. And, I actually was coaching or talking with a couple of agents and I said, look, you got to change your idea from I have to do this to I get to do this, right? We
Yes.
chose this as CEO of our own business. And I also really feel like when you kind of have a cranky attitude or you're feeling stressed or you feel like I can't find inventory,
Yes.
my buyers are tired, I'm tired, and it's only February, that kind of rubs off, right?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, if you are not in a great mindset, if you don't have positivity, if you aren't, kind of looking at this like, wow, this is a challenging market, but I'm up for the challenge and I want the opportunity. Like if you can change your mindset to that, then I just think then, you get the right energy and you, the business starts kind of falling into line. And I want to kind of take the idea from Ninja, which I love, is that line of, are you going to be a victim or are you going to be a
Love
player,
it.
right? And it's like, are you going to be a victim? Poor me, this market's so hard, my clients can't find anything. Or are you going to say, look, I'm going to be a player. I'm going to go out and find them something. I'm going to create great success. I'm going to make sure that I get more listings. So much of, I think, going after the market is starting right in between your two ears and the
100%.
mindset that you have every morning waking up. So
I love it. You wake up with the grumps.
that's my mantra.
It's so
Get
great.
up and get going.
Well, I
Good
remember
attitude.
when our offices were next door to each other, we made a joke at one point, but
Yeah.
it was serious where, we'd both walk in and be like, well, good morning. It
Yeah.
was wild, but that was, if you start your day that way versus
Totally.
you roll out of bed with the grumps and all you're thinking about is interest rates aren't going down or whatever's happening
Yeah.
and that people can feel it. You're not going to attract other positive people, but you're also not going to attract success.
Yeah. But I also think you chose to be in this business, so
Yes.
get excited about it, right? I
Right.
think that's the thing is, you can choose to get a job or do other things, but if you are really wanting to create success in this business, you got to get excited that this is what you chose, right?
Right.
It didn't choose you most of the time,
Most
right?
of the time. Yes, that's true. So you mentioned Ninja, right? So I think another opportunity here, or really a necessity to go in the spring market, is to work your pipeline. You have to be a
Yeah.
master of your pipeline.
Yeah.
Because this is where your business comes from, the bulk of the business. You may have social ads, you may have other advertising, marketing out there, but this is where your business is going to come from. And if you're not on top of your people in multiple different ways, then you're missing out the bulk of the opportunity that could come to you. So I think you mentioned Ninja. I think one of the things that Ninja teaches is review your hot and warm list every morning.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that feels like overkill. But what was it? Last week, we talked at the end about inventory. It's one of the best ways to make transactions happen when you're aware of your buyers that are actively looking. And as you're receiving emails or calls or texts from other agents about inventory coming on the market, now you have those people
Yeah,
top
you're
of mind.
connecting the dots. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We also talked about communication, staying in touch with your people, staying on top of who is a potential buyer, seller, or who is hot, who's actively looking or listed. You can make things happen. So you have to be a master of your pipeline in that way. I also think you have to engage with agents, right? Yeah. Because inventory again, but for relationships, for camaraderie, for rapport, you have to be engaged with other agents. And if you're positive with other agents, you are the sunshine in the clouds. they're going to be drawn to you to allow you to make things happen as well.
Well, it's like, are you a deal maker?
Yeah.
I think you want other agents to see you as a deal maker, somebody who is going after the market,
Yes.
making, prompting a conversation. I can't tell you how many times there's been conversations for agents where, they say, hey, Kevin, I've got a buyer that's looking for X, Y, and Z. Do you know of anybody? And it dislodges or it prompts the other person to say, well, wait a second. I haven't talked to the Smiths in 9 months, but that sounds like what they want. And all of a sudden, boom, transaction happens,
Yes.
right? So, I do think it's knowing your pipeline, because I remember when I was selling, I would look at my pipeline and I would say, oh my God, I totally forgot about Susie and Steve. Dang,
Yes.
So it's, having that and really kind of staying top of mind. The other thing too with your pipeline, a lot of agents I'm talking to right now have people that couldn't find what they were looking for and are in rentals. And I
Right.
can't tell people enough, you can never be too early on the conversation with your renters. They might be 6 to 9, maybe even 12 months out before they're looking to move. But the reality is, get them ready now. Start talking about financing. See where they're at in the market, because those 6 to 9 months are going to be gone and they're going to be needing to get engaged right now into the marketplace. So making sure you've got those renters, I think, kind of also top of mind in your pipeline is so important. Yeah.
That's a way to make it happen. And start, like you said, start early at when you put them in the rental, don't forget about them for 12 months.
Right.
Stay in touch, because those are the people, renters, they may not equate you to when they were looking for homes. Meaning you might, if you're not top of mind, they're out at open houses on their own or with another friend or their uncle or whomever. You need to be in front of them. So being a master of your pipeline, again, bulk of your business, if you're not on top of those people and those relationships, you're missing opportunity.
Yeah,
in the
that's
spring
like
market.
an everyday, check it every
Yes.
day. The other thing that I think you need to be a master of and be checking every single day is your market. You have to be a
Yes.
master of your market. What's coming on? What are the pocket listings or the not yet on the market that you know about, but what did just come up? I can't tell you how many times I remember looking in the mornings and being like, oh my God, there's something new. I need to reach out to so-and-so. And there is an agent that we have out of one of our offices, and I love her philosophy. She wakes up really early every morning, and she said, the first thing I do is I am still eyes half closed, so I'll grab my coffee. But she says I sit in front of my computer, and it's usually like 5:45 or 6 a.m. And she said I go through the hot sheet of what just came on the market, because she says I want to be able to have my email be in my client's inbox before the auto-generated Zillow or Redfin notification about something being listed. She said I want to be the one that's always controlling the message for them, that I am faster than anything else in the market, that I'm that on top of it. And I love that, right?
Yes.
But it's about knowing like what just came on, but also when I say knowing the market, it's what deals just fell apart and why, right? What's kind of really going on, and knowing the market enough that, you're so on top of that if that's something your buyer is interested in, you're on top of that phone call to that agent saying,
Right.
what's going on. So it's really being on top of and being, a master of what's happening every single day in the market that you're in. I think that's critical.
I agree. And you know what's interesting? I think we talk about stories because people can relate to stories, and we talked about last week about capturing buyers and really making sure that we're these create stories. Like the story you said, when a deal falls apart, you're on top of it. You can slide your buyers into an opportunity. That's something you can share with other buyers when you're talking with them.
Yeah. Yeah, because also there are those times, I've seen it last year, where a situation occurred and two agents were talking and it was a perfect connection, and the seller wanted an easy layup and they wanted to just negotiate directly with this buyer that was presented to them. So there's always this idea that sellers always want to go out onto the mainstream market. Not always. So I just think, making sure you understand your market, you really know your pipeline. And I think it kind of also goes into communicating and making sure that you're really connected with agents, right?
Well, that's a good point, because I think and let's wrap with this maybe. I think the idea is, and we've talked about it a few times over the last couple of weeks, I think your relationship with agents drives the success you can create with your clients. So I feel like, and it is making other agents like you. It's as simple as that: being kind, being thoughtful, being generous. And what I think you can do here is put yourself in a position to communicate with agents as much as possible, generate that rapport, foster the relationships, be grateful to them for opportunities they give you. And some of us are naturally social. We're going to, whether it's YPN in your market or any of these other events, put yourself out there so that you are essentially a deal maker, like you said.
Yeah. And be willing to share. I think there's always
Yes.
this hesitation of like, I'm going to hold these listings tight. I don't want to share. Maybe I line them up with my buyers. I just really encourage agents, share your inventory, because when you do that, there's going to be a reciprocity, right? Like somebody who's going to reciprocate back to you when it's, inventory that you're needing. So I think it's
Right.
like, we're all in this together. I think, as opposed to being solo, really being willing to collaborate is going to go a long way. And then the other thing, and this wraps to the first thing I talked about, is when you are engaging with agents, they want somebody with a great mindset, with a good
Yes.
attitude, which is, I'm excited to be here every single day. Our market is awesome. I love working with you. So, it starts with how you feel in the morning, and sort of the rest of it kind of scrambles or moves on from there, right?
That's right. Are you
Yeah.
grumps or are you sunshine?
Yeah, exactly. No
Yeah.
one wants a grumpy person in the room, right?
That's
are you
right.
are you bringing energy, or are you taking it away, right? That's what you want to ask yourself.
Yes.
What do you think I do?
You are sunshine from the moment your eyes open.
I try.
Yeah.
My family does not always think that, but I do try. I do try to make a mental note of, no matter what is happening in the day,
Yeah.
it's like I get to choose how I feel about it, right?
We've worked together for a long time. I feel like you really, really do that because we know what happens in our business and our lives and all of this. You are always really positive no matter what's going on in the background.
Yeah, don't want to be grumpy Smurf. So, yeah. Well, on that note, my friends, I don't know which Smurf you are, but hopefully it's Happy Smurf. Is there a Happy Smurf?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
Care Bears?
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure. Okay.
Let's go back to when we were watching cartoons. All right, people, on that note, make it a great Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, until we see you next week, Kevin,
You got this.
you got this.